Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Deziel, and today, just like promised, I show you how to develop the pattern of the leg of mutton sleeve. Now the special thing about the leg of mutton sleeve is that part of the sleeve, usually from the underarm point or a little below the underarm point to the bottom, you have the normal fit of the basic sleeve, but on the top part you have a lot of excess at the horizontal that's giving you the gathers at the sleeve head, and you also have a lot of volume to make it puffy on top, so you could see that it goes up from the shoulder line. To do the leg of mutton pattern development, I did use again my kids size 4 pattern, but just like for the other development, it would be the same technique if you're doing a pattern for adult. So I did trace and cut my sleeve in paper, and I did also trace on another paper exactly the same sleeve. This way you will be able to see exactly my development. The technique I'm showing you today is the one I learned and I use. But don't worry, you're using my technique or another technique, the result will be very, very similar. The first thing I would do to develop my leg of mutton sleeve would be to decide which part you want to develop for your leg of mutton. So like I said at the beginning, it could be at the bicep line, so right at the underarm point, or a little bit below. This is up to you, and it's also a matter of style. For today's example, I'm going to develop the top part until about 5 centimeters below the bicep line. So I'm going to put my ruler 90 degrees on the grain line, 5 centimeters below my bicep line, and I'm going to trace from side to side. Now, since I know I need to open a lot, develop a lot the top part, I'm going to need some more line that I could cut and open. And my second line I'm going to trace is going to be from underarm point to underarm point. It should be 90 degrees from the grain line again. So you could just trace from one side to the other. Now I usually want even more lines to cut, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to trace another line from the armhole just a little bit before the notch until this intersection of the grain line with the bicep line. And I'm going to trace one line for the front and one line for the back. Now before to do the next step, I just want to mention that these lines that I just traced, they are not style line. We're not going to see them. There's only one that is a little bit important, is the bottom one, that will determine where the volume will start, but none of them will show on the final sleeve. They're only construction line to help you for the development. The next thing we will do is cut on the grain line until the bottom line. The next thing is cut from where we finish here at the bottom line and the intersection of the grain line. We're going to cut all the way to the seam line. It's important not to go past that point. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So from the grain line all the way to the seam line. When both cuts are done, you're going to do a little notch, a little slash on the side towards the seam line, but keep 2 millimeters maybe to attach the pieces together. You do the little cut in diagonal like that. Those little cuts that we will do again for the other slash, they allow your pattern to stay flat. Doesn't matter how much you open. Now we're going to do the other slash. We're going to cut on the bicep line until the seam line. Also, we're going to cut on the diagonal line until the seam line, and the same thing on the back, all of them until the seam line. Now we're going to do the 4 little slash from the contour, diagonal, keeping about 2 millimeters to keep the piece attached together. Now my idea of having two sleeves, one that is not cut, one that was cut, is for you to see the development and what we're adding, because I have two different color of paper. If you feel you understand enough and you just want to add paper on the top part of the sleeve, your pattern could be done just by adding paper under the top part. If you want to do exactly like me, you could just put glue under the bottom part of the sleeve and glue it on over the trace line that you have. All the bottom part could be glued. Now for the next part, I suggest you already do some opening, more or less even for now. At this point, some techniques are giving you measurements saying that they all should be the same. Some other time it's going gradually, so maybe 3 cm, 4 cm, and then 4.5. This is all good. It could even be placed by highs, and that's what I'm going to do today. There's only one important thing, is that the grain line of the top part, this one here, when you do your opening, it should not go over the 90 degree from the grain line. So if you place it like that, I think this is too much. But until the 90 degree, it's okay. When you find the right position, you have to work them all together. You could just glue them in position. Now you might think, oh, she's not working accurately and the sleeve is not going to look good. But here's the thing. My sleeve will be accurate because the important thing is that you open exactly the same thing on the other side, and that I will do. And to be very precise, what I'm going to do is just do a 90 degree from the side that is already glued. So I'll be able to place the other side exactly with the same opening. When it's at the right place, you could glue it on. Then I will do the same thing again for the next piece. So place your ruler on the grain line, touching the point of the side that is glued already. Then I'm going to move my piece until the point touch the bottom of my ruler, so they're exactly at the same level, and I'm gonna glue it in position. Then I could do the same thing again for the third part. Now we finished to open and enlarge the sleeve head so we could have gathers. The next step is going to be to elongate the sleeve so we could create the puffiness at the sleeve head. What I suggest is that you put your ruler square on the grain line and touch the highest point of the top piece. Then the measurement, just as a guide, should be higher than that point by a minimum of 5 centimeters. You could go up to 10 or 12 centimeters. For this example, from that point, I will go up, let's say 9 centimeters, and I would just mark the top as the reference. Now my last step is going to be to trace the new sleeve head with a nice curve from that reference 9 centimeters higher until pretty much halfway of that last triangle piece. And I'm going to trace on one side from the middle and on the other side. Most probably you're going to notice that one side is a little different. The front side is bumping up a little more. So it's okay if you do cut a little bit to trace a nice and continuous line. When you're happy with your nice sleeve head, you're going to take your block again, put the grain line over the grain line, and we will report the shoulder notch. Now you remember that the block that I use had the seam allowance include, and when I did trace my sleeve head, I reached to the contour, so the seam allowance area. So now my sleeve is finished. I could just cut all around. And now that you could see my new sleeve head, you could understand why the opening that I did, even by highs, didn't really matter because they're not part of the style, and the sleeve head anyway is going to be done freehand. Maybe you noticed that while I cut the pattern, the contour, I did soften the line, but it's just a few millimeter, tiny little bit. I softened wherever I did cut. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you didn't do it yet. Thanks for watching, and I see you next time.